Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is At the Helm Sports. I'm your host, Derek Helm. Thank you for joining me for episode 145. Please be sure to follow, subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews, would be greatly appreciated. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that like button. Subscribe down in the comment section. Let me know, do you have any weeks in or any bets in for week one? Because that's what we're going into today. We're going to dive into the DFS and betting strategy. Have a couple guests with me. Quickly wanted to go through it, though. I'm doing a $50 giveaway, basically for the kickoff of the season. Venmo or PayPal. Couple ways to get in. One ballot each for reposting anything that I post football-wise on X. Obviously, follow on X. Follow at the Helm Sports on TikTok. Each one of those will get you one ballot. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify or Apple. That'll get you 5 ballots, and then 10 ballots each if you like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment. That each one of those will get you 10 ballots. Leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. That'll get you 10 ballots. And then also subscribe to At the Helm Sports on Substack. Obviously, it's football season. In a lot of places, got a lot going on. TheHelmSports.com. Already have an article up over there. YardsPerFantasy.com. We'll definitely be having the article up breaking down the opener between the Chiefs and Ravens, so check that out. And then also the Mad Lab MMA.com. Already have a couple bets in for the opener for Friday and for Sunday, right in the Discord there, so definitely check that out. And speaking of which, we got a crew this year breaking down the NFL, so we're here to break it down week one tonight. And joining me, I have Johnny JMac, returning guest. How we doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. And then obviously we're talking about the Mad Lab MMA and the NFL product, so had to bring him on. Mad Lab, Mike Iarato. What up, Lab?
What's up, dude? Yo, I just realized you got a Jets helmet there. We shouldn't even be talking right now.
Yeah. It's been a rough life. We're hopefully it can be a little bit better than last year. But
we play you week one.
Yep. And that should be an interesting game. But yeah, we're going to dive into week one here. But Lab, why don't you let them know what we got in the NFL product this year?
Yeah, so basically what we're doing is last year was the first year we launched the product. Kind of flew off the seat of our pants a little bit. We were putting out articles, putting out wagers. It was good. It was fun. But this year we've really consolidated. We really pigeonholed the product. We have obviously Derek contributing. We now got JMac contributing. We got a couple other guys contributing as well with wagers and stuff like that. We also are launching something called the Roster Bully Tool, which is not a white label product. This is our product. We built it in-house. Doesn't work like a optimizer where it'll upload for you up into Draftkings. You can utilize it as a tool with the optimizer as far as figuring out how you want to go. You can filter it all different ways from tiers to pricing to upside and stuff like that. It's great for hand builders. If you guys are hand builders out there, it's a great tool to use for utilizing a screen like that. Everything's much more organized this year. And also the big cap of it is we're known for our MMA. That's what we're pretty much our flagship we're known for. We're giving this away. We're giving the entire NFL product away to any MMA subscriber. So it's absolutely free. You join the MMA product, we're giving you the NFL product for free for a limited time. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to have a good year.
Yeah, and I mean, might be a little bit biased, but I'd say that's a pretty good deal because I'd say by far you are the best as far as MMA goes. And then I think we're pretty good as far as NFL goes. It's obviously a great crew we got here, obviously an incredible community, and at all times you have access to us in the Discord. As soon as I post a single bet, so you get the exact line, it is there in my channel. So definitely check us out. I think it's going to be a great season overall. But what we're here for, obviously, is week one. We're right around the corner. We're recording this on Wednesday, so a bit of an early look show. Obviously, week one can be a little bit wonky, a little bit weird, but going to dive into the DFS slate and see maybe if we like a little couple early bets here. So we're going to dive into the Sunday slate, go through a couple games that I've kind of singled out and see if we can maybe find some value, go through a little bit of strategy. And obviously going forward, we're going to dive a little bit more into each one of these games. But in week one, there's so much variance here. You see a lot of people basically just throw shit at the wall and hope for the best. So hopefully we can steer you in the right direction. But the first game that I like, no surprise here, it is the highest total on the board. Jacksonville at Miami, 49 is the total. Now, spread is 3.5. fireworks here. That's basically what I'm expecting. I mean, you have the Dolphins average 6.4 yards per play. That was second highest in the league last year. Averaged 27.9 points per game. That was third most in the league. That number jumped to 31.9 at home. They are playing this game at home. The Jaguars ran at an incredibly high pace, sixth most plays per game. So definitely think that this is going to be fast paced. The Miami defense took a serious step back, especially with the defensive line. PFF has that defensive line ranked at 25th this year. And if you give Trevor Lawrence time, he hasn't been the greatest quarterback overall, but when you give him time, he is definitely a lot more efficient. I love this game. 49 is a high total, highest on the board, but I'm still actually even considering the over in this one. Obviously, there are a number of ways to stack it. I think it is going to be pretty popular, but it gets expensive quick. So I do think there are some ways to get different. But Lab, what do you think in this game? Am I crazy for even considering this high of a total, possibly taking the over right off the jump?
Who's going? Me, JMac, you go first.
I think he said you, but
oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Honestly, a week like this, like we just talked about week one, this is probably a game where I'm gonna embellish on. But when you have so many people who are thinking like we are right now, in big tournaments, it's probably I'll pick and choose my spots on this game. I do agree. I think like this is going to be a high scoring game, but like if you look at how are they going to utilize some of these guys, like even Achane, where's Mostert going to fix it? How much tread is he going to get? Are they going to try to utilize some of the younger guys to really start targeting these guys to see what they have? So it's a game that I'm going to tamper with from a fantasy perspective, but I'm definitely not going to be as heavy as a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm actually the opposite. I think I might play some sort of iteration of this game in about 80% of my lineups because I could see it being far and away that highly scoring. Now, the problem is...
I will say this. I'm expecting big things from Lawrence this year. I'm expecting a big uptick in his play this year.
Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the ways that you can attack it here. I think most people will go for the Miami side and then maybe bring it back with an ATN, Brian Thomas Jr., who people love, because that's another thing we should touch on is week one in DFS. People are basically just a lot more casuals come in and people are basically just playing their fantasy lineups that they drafted. So people that you see that have been popular in your season-long leagues tend to be a little bit higher owned in week one. So just by going the opposite way, you can actually be a little bit different. So I do expect Achane, who's been going in the second round, to be very popular, whereas Mostert probably won't be. So if like Lab just said, if you want to go with a Lawrence stack him with maybe Ingram and either Gabe Davis or Brian Thomas and bring it back with Mostert instead, I think that gets you different. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is a freak. Waddle's been dealing with a calf injury. It's a little sketchy with Waddle, but if you wanted to bring it back with Waddle, I think that makes sense as well. So, JMac, what are you thinking?
This is my third favorite game on the slate, actually. I've got two others ahead of it, but I definitely am with you. I like the Jaguars side to go with either full stacks or heavier plays off the Jaguars than Miami, just because Miami's going to have a higher ownership percentage. Plus, like Mad Lab said, it's going to be hard to differentiate. You're going to have to hit the specific play you need to from Miami, and with both those running backs, I honestly think Mostert is probably going to end up scoring more than Achane. It'll be kind of like last year. Achane will have a couple of games where he'll just go crazy, but I don't think he's going to stay healthy all season. He's kind of small for the NFL, and Mostert's been tried and true, man. He's been almost a pretty steady workhorse the last few seasons. But I really like stacking Thomas with Thomas Jr. with the Jaguars quarterback.
Lawrence.
Yeah, Lawrence. I like Thomas. I think Thomas Jr. is going to be one of the better rookie receivers this year.
Well, here's a question now that I want to throw into both you guys. We kind of seen, like, if you look at the roster from the Dolphins, I mean it's pretty similar to last year. These guys, there's no new toys. My problem with the Jaguars, and I'm with you guys. Like I said I expect big things from Lawrence this year, but he does have a couple new moving parts and a couple new toys that he has to work the kinks out of. They're going to go through like Brian Thomas, he's going to go through his issues with his route running. They're going to have bad reads and stuff. Are they going to be locked in game one? Is it going to take them a couple games to see what kind of toys he has on the field? Because it's totally different with preseason when you're going live now. Like, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to have bad reads. That's my only concern with the Jags. He does have a couple new toys that he has to get used to.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I will say, though, is I'm willing to take the chance because I do think they're going to be a little bit lower owned. And I also expect the complete opposite on the other side. As you said, Miami is basically running out the same offense. And you give Mike McDaniel the entire offseason to prepare for this game, who knows what we're going to see offensively. So I 1,000% expect them to come out clicking on all cylinders, scoring a ton of points. And as I said at the top, their defense took a huge step back. So they're going to score points. Lawrence, regardless of whether he can get it going or not, he's going to get plenty of opportunities in this game. The amount that they're going to have to pass is going to be ridiculous. So I'm willing to just take the amount of opportunities he's going to get to throw the ball with these new weapons and take a chance on it week one.
Yeah.
But JMac, what were you thinking? You said you like a couple other games. What else are you looking at here?
My favorite game from a DFS standpoint that I think I will be pretty heavy on is the Bucks-Washington game, Buccaneers-Washington. I like Mayfield a lot this first week. I like Mayfield a lot. Mike Evans is always in play, but in the offseason, they've been doing a lot trying to work Chris Godwin, trying to work red zone and goal line plays to get Chris Godwin more targets in the red zone this year too. So where a lot of people are going to be on Mike Evans, which I understand that, I think Godwin might be kind of sneaky this first week.
Yeah, I like that. Basically, it was the touchdown department that hurt him last year, but still had 1,000 yards and over 80 receptions. So I do think that he's still talented. You know, people basically have just forgotten about him. So you could definitely see that regression turnaround in the touchdown department. It is the 5th highest total on the board at 44. Tampa Bay has the 6th highest team implied total at 23.75. So, you know, they're expected to score some points here. And we know Washington's defense didn't improve too much. I mean, we don't know that for sure, but from the moves they made, I doubt it's going to be too great compared to what it was last year. Now, I do expect Jaden Daniels on the other side to be pretty popular with Mike Evans as a potential bringback. So if you have Jaden Daniels, McLaurin with a bringback of Mike Evans, like you said, if you just bring that back with Godwin, you're probably cutting the three of them's cumulative ownership in half there. So I think that's definitely a good call.
Yeah,
Lab, what about you?
I like, I think Evans is a little overvalued for week one. I do agree with the Godwin. I was just thinking about that. I was thinking about that, honestly, during even my season-long drafts, like how much upside these people are putting on his back. And maybe as the year goes on, but I do agree, like a week one, week two, when you're getting Godwin at such a discount, 5,800, and he's 7,300, I actually do like that. The problem I have with the Commanders, dude, is there's just so much. Not so much in the receipt. Can we curse on here?
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know because I don't know where it's going. But the problem I got with the Commanders is, like, outside of McLaurin and you know, what the fuck do you like? You got Robinson, you got Eckler. Like, you have no idea what kind of playbook they're going to roll out. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's really your only option, like, to go with McLaurin and a Daniel stack if you're going to do anything on the Washington side. As far as the Buccaneers, you know what Mayfield's capable of. You know he's capable of either shooting himself in the foot or having a huge game. Like, that's really the Mayfield way. You know he's got Evans. You know he's, familiar with Godwin. You can go either way. But I do like that. I actually really do like that Baker Mayfield and Godwin to get different. As far as White, on the running backs, how much are they going to work in Bucky Irvin? This kid is getting a lot of love. You know what I mean? They might work him into the mix a little bit. So I think it's like a receiver or bust on wide receiver and quarterback or bust on both sides of this for week one.
Yeah, that would definitely be the way that I lean. Now, I think you can make a case for Rachaad White because, as you said, Bucky Irving, I definitely think is going to be brought in there, but probably more so as the season goes on. So I didn't like White for season long for that reason, but I do think week one, I mean, with the workload we saw him get last year, even if he gets slightly less in this matchup against this terrible defense, I definitely think you can make a case that he will be low owned and potentially worth a stab. That could be a little bit lower owned bring back if you do want to target this game and you're going with that Jaden Daniels and McLaurin. And I will say, if you're playing cash, that's probably McLaurin just being the only one there, and a target monster with Jaden Daniels is probably going to be extremely, extremely popular. Now, obviously, in cash, you don't necessarily care as much about ownership, but just something to keep in mind, the volatility of that going into week one. You could sink yourself there, but I don't know. I don't think there's really much else here that we need to touch on in this game. That's basically all we have on both sides there. So I'll dive into another one I like. And again, it's one of the higher totals, but Arizona at Buffalo. And part of the reason why I do like this is obviously it's a high total at 48, but Buffalo is 6-point favorites at home. I do expect them to win. Now, the problem here is people probably aren't going to want to pay up for Josh Allen. As I said, Jaden Daniels is pretty cheap. There's some cheaper options at quarterback. I think a lot of people would rather save. I think it's $600 to go down to Stroud, or even $700. So I could see people doing that. And who do you pair them with? It's kind of hard because you don't really know. Most people will probably just go Kincaid, but I think you can take a chance on one of these wide receivers, or if you wanted, you could just play Josh Allen by himself, play him naked, and he's Josh Allen. So at 8K, it is a little bit sketchy, but I do think there's enough value on this to make it work. And I expect Buffalo to roll here. If it's Allen or if it's Cook, I think you can use them. I think this is a perfect game for skinny stacks, is using Allen and maybe bringing it back with a Harrison or McBride, or even Connor on the other side, and just taking those two pieces. If they do the bulk of the scoring in this game, you're on your way. Now, if you wanted to make Kyler stacks, I think that's fine too. Buffalo's defense has taken a step back. I do expect them to get up big. Obviously, it's a 6-point spread. So if Kyler's having to play from behind, I do think that he now has some weapons that he didn't have in the past and still has the rushing ability. I think there could be some fantasy goodness here. JMac, what do you think? Sorry, go ahead, Lab.
What are your thoughts on Marvin Harrison Jr. as far as from a price tag perspective, week one, and just overall?
So I think the price tag is going to keep people off of him a little bit, because I think a lot of people's sentiment is exactly what you just said. They don't know what to think. Now, coming out, he's a generational talent. And I think the steam has picked up on Neighbors a little bit more just because of the highlight catches we've seen throughout camp. So I could see people taking a discount and dropping down to him, even though he's playing with a far inferior quarterback in week one. So I do think that he's going to be a stud in this league. Is it going to be week one? Maybe not. Maybe it's more McBride and some of these ancillary pieces. But I absolutely think that long-term, you're going to be looking at this guy. And this price at 7.2, it might actually be cheap for him going forward. J-Mac, what are you thinking here?
To be honest, just a secondary piece I really like out of this game. I think Curtis Samuel could be a low-owned piece you might want to have, because of, the Buffalo lost Diggs, they lost Gabe Davis. Pretty much, I think their best receiver is going to be Dalton Kincaid, and he's a hybrid. But Khalil Shakur, he's a home run threat like once a game. That's about it. You're taking a big risk on that. I think they're going to move Curtis Samuel all over the field, and I think he's going to end up being heavily utilized, especially the first few weeks of the season.
Yeah, and Joe Brady was with him in Carolina. That was part of the reason why he came to Buffalo. So I could see, similar to what we saw in Carolina or even Washington, them drawing up some gadget plays, maybe with him even in the backfield. There's obviously James Cook isn't necessarily a goal line back, even though Joe Brady said he has confidence in him getting goal line carries. I could see Curtis Samuel coming in there and them running him inside the 10-yard line. So I definitely think that's a pretty good call there. Lab, anything stand out to you in this game? Or
from a sneaky perspective, I know it's I mean, if you really look at it from a depth part, but Shakir, I'm definitely willing to take some shots on him. I mean, he is their number one, whether you want to look at it or any way you want, whether he's a long threat or he's not a PPR machine or not a reception monster. He is really technically their bona fide number one. wide receiver. So, to me, a week like week one, this is a week where I would probably take a shot on him and see what happens, see how they're going to utilize him.
See, I would almost rather take a shot on Keon Coleman before I would take a shot on Shakir. And that's just me. I think Coleman's going to end up being their number one. I think week one, it's not a real good play week one, but I think later on in the season, Keon Coleman's going to end up emerging as their like bona fide one.
And what do you guys think about McBride?
I love him. I think he is.
I'm saying not
he is an
here.
absolute
I'm saying for this week. I think honestly, I think he's a nice security blanket, especially for week one when guys like Marvin Harrison are trying to get their feet wet a little bit. That live crowd, get the jitters out. They're going to be probably targeting him to. So I actually like McBride a lot this week.
Yeah. And what I love too is he's a guy that if he's getting the volume, it's not just like a lot of tight ends where he's catching the ball and falling down. He has serious run after the catch ability, similar to a Kittle or a Kelsey in his earlier years. So I definitely think that he is a stud, and it's 6.1K. It's lofty for a tight end, but I think it's well worth the salary here.
Yeah, agreed.
And then similar to both of your guys' points, you can pick and choose who you think is going to be the guy on this Buffalo offense. And I think that's even more reason why nobody wants to go to Josh Allen. So maybe you do just play him naked. And if any one of these guys go off, then maybe you're just fine. And I would say that's more of a single entry and smaller field approach to it, because if you do want to play the millionaire maker or a large GPP, obviously you're going to need one of these guys if they do have a big game. But they're cheap enough where Josh Allen's 8K, you have Shakir at 5.1, Keon Coleman at 5K, and Curtis Samuel at 4.9. Maybe you even use two of them. I mean, Josh Allen throws for 4,000 yards every year. There's a good chance he goes for over 300 in this one against possibly the worst defense in the league. So even if you wanted to throw two of them in there with him, that's a pretty cheap stack when all is said and done.
And we're not even talking about Kyler Murray. I mean, he can put up numbers no matter how bad Arizona sucks. He'll have the opportunity to run with the ball. He'll have the opportunity to probably throw 40 times this game.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to stack, if you're doing a stack with Arizona, you're either doing a three-way stack or a two-way stack. Either way, you're doing Murray, Harrison, and McBride, or you're doing Murray and one or the other.
Yeah, more than likely. And I mean, Connor was from week 13 on was number one running back in points per game. So
well, here's why Connor might be a good play, because they're going to have to slow Buffalo down. They're going to have to slow that clock down a little bit. So they might actually use Connor a little bit, a lot more just to keep that offense off the field.
Absolutely.
If their defense can't do it, they're going to utilize their offense to do it. And if they're running the ball, if they can even just chip away 4 yards here and just keep the offense on the field and keep Buffalo's offense off the field, it might be a position that they use.
Yeah, I agree. And then I'll dive into the next one. This one isn't necessarily as far as game stacking going back and forth, but it's another team that has a 6-point spread. I love Seattle this week. I think Ken Walker is going to be pretty popular, but I think people are sleeping on Geno Smith this year with Ryan Grubb as the offensive coordinator. They are going to air it out. He basically was the reason why Washington went to the national championship. He's the reason why Roman Dunze is a thing. He's the reason why 3 of those wide receivers were drafted so highly in the NFL. So I love DK. Lockett's a little bit banged up, so maybe JSN is a sneaky little piece there. So I think you can get away with Geno stacks to those guys, and you don't even have to bring bring back if you don't necessarily want to. Seattle's defense was not great against the run last year, so maybe if you wanted to do it with Javonte or a Sutton, I think that's fine. But I think just as a skinny stack there, going Geno and one of those receivers, or potentially even just playing DK or JSN instead of Ken Walker is a nice little piece there. So just wanted to touch on that game. And then also from a betting standpoint, we said week one can be wonky. I'm not always crazy about teasers, but when they make sense as far as making the numbers work, I actually have put in a teaser on this. I have Buffalo down to minus 0.5 and Seattle down to a pick 'em. So that's a 6-point teaser. I already have that in, and I think it actually makes sense this week because, things can happen in week one and maybe it gets a little crazy. Maybe Seattle doesn't look as good coming out of the gates, but I still think they are far superior to the Broncos, and Bo Nix in his first game ever coming into Seattle is a little bit of a tall task. And then also I said I think Buffalo should roll. So that was just a little teaser I put in there. Just a little bit afraid of laying the 6 points in week one on both of those. So just that was part of the reason why I went that way. Lab, any thoughts on anything I just said? I know it was a lot.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I think the one thing that you did say, I think this is a game that honestly can go sideways quick for Knicks at Seattle. You know what I mean? Yep. This is that, like you said, it's a tough task going into Seattle. This is a team, Geno Smith, Walker, Metcalf, Lockett, Jigma, these guys all played together. These guys, they got their formula down already. I'm a little surprised that people are so, I get it. He's on the down take, but I'm a little surprised that people are so down on Lockett this year. Like really down on him. Like I'm talking ridiculously down on him. Not a guy that I probably would tamper with because he, with the question mark tag on him. But later on, he's definitely somebody that he's not only a home run hitter, but he showed like in previous past now, he's starting to become more of a PPR target. But Geno Smith is a guy, he's another one. He's either going to have a monster game or he's going to just shoot himself in the foot. And this is totally a game opening up in Seattle against Denver. Like I said, their offense, to me, they might start clicking in the third or fourth quarter, but I think they're going to kind of be, figuring it out in this game. And it's not a place you want to figure it out in Seattle. So I think Geno's going to have a really good game. I do like Walker. I think they're going to run the ball, at will. And Metcalf, the guy's a unit, dude. When that guy wants to get up and he wants to play and get the ball, he's going to go up to get the ball. And if Lockett does have a hard question mark tag on him and he's really nimble, he's going to be taking a lot of that pressure off from him and Smith-Jigba. So I do like them from a pick perspective for sure. I do like some certain parts of this from a fantasy perspective, but probably in bits and pieces. It's probably not a game I would stack.
Yeah, that's probably the way to go. Is not, you don't want to overly stack this one, but I definitely think that it merits a couple plays. JMac, what about you?
Seattle was one of the other top stacks I like this first week, and you're exactly right. I think with the new offensive coordinator, Geno Smith is gonna, if he continues how efficient he has been the last couple seasons, especially not last season, but the season before last. If he gets back to that efficiency, I think he's going to put up huge numbers DFS wise. I think JSN is due for a breakout year this year too. I think he's going to have a breakout year this year.
Now, do you think that's why they're so down on Lockett?
I think that's why a lot of it is. I think JSN is going to have a breakout year, and I think they think he moves down in the pecking order probably.
Yeah, and I could see it, but I still think he's going to have his weeks. As I said, Grubb, he's going to run 3 wide receiver sets. These guys are going to be on the field a lot together, and it's a luxury for Geno because they're 3 very talented wide receivers. So I agree with the JSN hype. I love him. I have him in Dynasty, and Shane Waldron was pathetic last year with the way he used him, just continually throwing him the ball at or behind the line of scrimmage. Now he's moved. What do you think about old Shane Waldron there, J-Mac?
Hey, man. Well, I'll tell you what. He's better than what we had last year.
There you go.
That's the only positive thing I can say.
That is what I was going to say. And as the resident Bears fan, I figured I'd let you touch on it first. But that's what I was going to say is the way he used JSN was terrible last year, at or behind the line of scrimmage. But that is actually a way that you can utilize DJ Moore. So I actually think that could work out quite a bit. And especially getting Caleb, we kind of transitioned here. But I think the Bears, week 1 against Tennessee, it kind of makes sense. I think it might be popular because so many people are believing the Caleb hype, but I do think that they could come out here and score some points. I think Will Levis on the other side, they're going to let him air it out. So we could see this being a little bit of a back and forth game. Now, if it gets too popular, I might stay away, but J-Mac, what are you thinking of the Bears overall in this game? And is there anything that you like stacking on the other side too?
To be honest with this game, and I hate to say it since I'm a Bears fan, but I think this is going to be an ugly game. I think it's going to
It
be
could be.
slow, grinding, ugly. The only play that I really like out of it is the Bears defense. I wouldn't mind taking the Bears defense because they're going to
Yeah.
let Will Levis air it out. He makes
Yep.
mistakes. That secondary is tough. I wouldn't mind taking the Bears defense, but anything else, I kind of want to stay away from because I think this is going to be a lot tougher game than a lot of people think it's going to be.
Yeah, and as I said, if it does look like it's getting popular, I'm fine staying away with it. I do think that's a good call with the Bears defense. Obviously, once they traded for what was it, Montez Sweat last year, obviously they turned it around. They looked very good over the back half of last year. You said it. I think they are going to let Levis throw the ball left and right, and we know he's a gunslinger. He's going to let it rock. So you could get some turnovers, and I definitely like that call. Lab, anything you like in that game, or is that just a stay away for you?
Yeah, you know what it is, man. I'm a USC guy, dude. I go to the games and stuff like that. And I there's going to be a lot of mistakes made in this game, dude.
I could see
This
it.
is a kid who's a freak athlete. He's got a great arm. But he's all over the place on the run. He's going to make both kids are going to make the mistakes, dude. So I'm with it from a defensive standpoint. On a week where I'm expecting all these things to happen, it's without a doubt, Chicago defense. If you're looking for defense,
Yeah, and again,
I
so many
wouldn't touch. I know I said that Williams is going to make his mistakes, but he still has enough to get him out of situations where I'm not touching Tennessee's defense. I mean, he still has Swift. He can think and dunk too. He still has his legs and stuff like that. It's just I don't know. Like I said, in Chicago, from an offensive perspective, I don't really like anything on either side. But from a defense perspective, Chicago at home, I love it.
Yeah, and that's the other problem too, is if you are playing Caleb Williams, like I said, I do expect him to be pretty popular, but it's another case of who do you play him with? Because you can make a case. Obviously, DJ Moore should be the alpha here, but he already has a relationship with Adunze. And then Keenan Allen is not dead. I mean, I get he's older and he came in a little bit overweight, but he's still one of the best route runners of all time with great hands. So even if you do want to play Caleb Williams, you probably have to allocate a good amount of lineups to try and get it right, similar to what we just said with Josh Allen.
Over and under, how many picks in total in this game?
Oh man, that's something to look
on
at.
Both sides, over and under.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm saying at least plus three.
I was going to say, I swear to God, I was just going to say 3.5.
Plus three and a half.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Total turnovers plus 3.5. I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
I will tell you, yeah, I'm not touching. I normally don't play a lot of Chicago. Every once in a while, I would have thrown Justin Fields in just because of the DFS upside. But I normally don't play a lot of Chicago just because I don't like to mix my personal fan preference with my play, the way I play. But I'm not going to touch the Chicago Bears offensive side till probably I won't even think about it for the first 3 or 4 weeks just to see how everything settles out because they set him up really well with so many different weapons and security blankets on the offense. I don't know where the production's all going to go. So I think it's going to take 3, 4, 5 weeks to kind of settle out enough to kind of see where he's going to be going with the ball more. And it may be spread out all season. I mean, he's got enough different weapons that, I mean, he could spread the ball around all season.
Yeah, one game it could be DJ Moore, one game it could be Allen, one game they could rely on Swift. I could definitely see that happen. And it's crazy how much steam they've gotten over the past couple of weeks. And I get he made a couple fancy plays in the preseason, but I mean, their total got steamed up to, what is it, 8 now? I think it was even 8.5 in a couple spots. I've seen people picking them to make it to the NFC Championship. I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit there.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, if the NFC North wasn't as tough as they are, it's a good division this year. They got an outside chance looking in to maybe make the wild card. But I still don't even think that. I don't think it's going to happen just yet. The North is too tough. But I think we'll see improvements from last year.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Lab, are there any games that really stick out to you or any stacks that you're really looking at targeting?
I'm not certain about it yet, but I do want to talk about it.
Okay.
Because there's a couple plays that I want your thoughts on for sneaky plays. The Minnesota and the Giants game, the Vikings and the Giants game. You know, one thing that enough of people aren't talking about is there's really no bell cows in the league, right? I mean, how many bell cows really are there in the league? Singletary's the guy who's going to be the guy who bails them out of a lot of bad situations. A lot of bad situations. He's a bona fide bell cow. I don't trust Daniel Jones. I don't think the money he got is worth it. I don't think Neighbors is going to have a season that people think he's going to have, not because he's not good, because of Daniel Jones. He's going to have some big time plays. He's going to have some big time circus catches and games and stuff like that for sure. But I think that he's ultimately going to be held back in New York, just like Barkley was. I really, really believe that. You know, and I think they're going to lean on Singletary in certain situations because this is a guy who's been known to run a load. You know what I mean? So what do you guys think of Singletary coming out of the gate week one, knowing they're going to lean on him a little bit?
Yeah, I think it makes sense, especially from the standpoint of you have Jones coming back from the ACL. He should be fully healthy, but they probably don't want him running around like crazy or dropping back 25 times in the first week. So I think you could definitely make a case.
And I'm
for
not
Singletary.
talking about like your top lineup. I'm talking about as like a value, a sneaky, kind of low ownership play.
Yeah, and again, I mean, not crazy about cash in week one because we don't really know too much, and I kind of like digging in on known opportunities, but we know Devin Singletary is going to get the opportunities. So I think from a cash standpoint, or if you're in a small field GPP and you want to use him as a cheap running back to get a higher end stack, I think it's fine. Now, I don't know that he necessarily has a huge ceiling. Maybe
no, absolutely not.
Maybe 15, 16 points though at 5,700, and that's good enough. So I don't mind it. There might be some other guys if you're in a big GPP that you might want to go up maybe just $200 to Tony Pollard if you're in a milli maker and just hope that he's the Tony Pollard we saw 2 years ago. But I absolutely think that Singletary should come out here and get the bulk of the work here. JMac, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think they're gonna I like Mad Lab's take. I think they're gonna lean on him pretty heavy because they just don't. I mean, offensive wise, they don't have it anyway. And Jones coming back off that injury, I just don't think he's any good anyway. But I think they're probably gonna lean heavy on Singletary. One of the things I really looked at for season long is I think they're gonna lean heavily on Singletary till he gets injured 4 or 5 weeks into the season, and I like as a sneaky handcuff. I think Gray. I think Gray is so explosive and fast. He has to learn how to pass block. That's why he's not getting playing time right now. But I
thought you were going Tracy.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought you were going to say
I think he's a talented back as well. I do think also that if Singletary did go down, it might be more of a committee. So I see the upside with both of them, but I don't know that they would necessarily step right into the workload that we're going to see from Singletary out of the gates.
Yeah, I don't think either one of. I like both of them as well, but I don't think either one of them would step into a workhorse. It'd be by committee. But I just like how explosive Gray is when he touches the ball.
Yeah, and you got to think if that does happen, or even if he carves out a role and eats into Singletary a little bit, he's probably going to be really cheap on DraftKings, and with his big play upside, that's definitely something to look at. Now, one of the other things I will say is nobody likes Daniel Jones. I mean, Giants fans don't even like Daniel Jones.
I don't like him, dude.
I don't like him at all. But from a 1 week DraftKings standpoint, if you're playing the Millie Maker, 5,400 for a guy that could literally run for 100 yards, you could do worse. So you use him as your cheap quarterback, and then Justin Jefferson on the other side.
I'll tell you who could be sneaky though,
or Darnold.
If you really I want to get to Darnold in a minute, but when you think about this, I'm assuming the Giants are going to be playing from behind in this game, okay, at some points, and Wan'Dale Robinson at 4,100 could be a fucking sneaky play, dude.
I think he is talented. I just want to see it probably for the first 3 weeks what this wide receiver core looks like behind Neighbors.
But see what you just said, what they can do. It's not what they can do. It's what fucking Bonehead does with the ball.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I like Wandell, but the guy could have 8 catches for 22 yards. Like, he does not get yards after the catch, and that's what kills me. I used him a lot last year in cash games or for a value play because he stayed pretty low last year. But it just kills me to see all the opportunities he gets, and he doesn't do anything with them after the catch.
Or you can go with Old Faithful. You can go fucking Old Faithful, $300 more, and he catches that 40-yard seam route.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but I mean, there could be some upside with Daniel Jones and Neighbors because you said it. I think I stayed away from him in season long because I do think he's going to be very volatile week to week. I think he's a better best ball play, and I think he is a very good DraftKings play because Neighbors is definitely a freak. And I could see the big games. And Daniel Jones, you don't want as your quarterback for season long, but could we see him come out and run for 100 yards and throw for 220 and 2 touchdowns, and Neighbors gets 150 of that? I definitely think we could see it, and we could see it week one.
I will say this.
Minnesota's defense sucks.
Yeah, I will. I was just going to say, I will say this. If there's ever a week to test that stack, it's this week. Yeah. At home, opening game, crowd is going to be going bananas. They're going to want to open up the playbook to see what they got in this kid, to see if Daniel Jones can find them, get him in a rhythm with him really, really quick. So it could go one of two ways. It could be Daniel Jones has a sick connection with his receiving core. It looks fantastic. He's running the ball. Or it can go downhill south and they start leaning on Singletary.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll touch on one more thing. Oh, my fault, Derek. I think you're right. Okay. There'll be 1 week somebody's going to take down a Millie Maker sometime this season with Daniel Jones at quarterback. He'll be in the optimal 1 week. Watch. It happens every year. You remember?
Oh yeah, we saw several with Trubisky.
That Blake Bortles. You remember how many times?
Blake Bortles. Remember Blake Bortles?
How many times was he in the optimal lineups? I mean, it's bound to happen.
Yeah, and then I do think again I don't play the Millie Maker very often, but week one when it's $5, throw a couple in there. I mean, it's $5. But
I was gonna say, if you guys, before we get off here, if you guys want to make a quick lineup, I've got like 15 free ticket entries in it. So if you guys want to make a lineup on there and we'll throw it in, I'm glad to.
How about this though? How about go on the Minnesota side now? Does Darnold go into New York and gash them for 300 plus?
I don't know about 300 plus, but I do think the upside with Darnold lies in the fact that he's throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson. With a good coaching staff, I think he's going to get a ton of targets. So you pair a very cheap quarterback in Darnold with Jefferson. And we saw in Carolina, Darnold isn't afraid to run the ball, especially inside the 10-yard line. So you could potentially, even if he doesn't have a great game throwing the ball, if just all of his throwing production goes to Justin Jefferson and let's say he runs a little bit, that could be a Millie play stack right there.
Yeah,
too.
I was going to say, I could see Darnold being in. I could see Darnold winning a Millie Maker at least once this year.
Yeah.
Having a game with Jefferson with over 200 yards, Addison getting some rub, him getting – I could totally see that stack. Or just Darnold in general, having like a 380-yard fucking game with 3 touchdowns. You know what I mean? But he'll also have a game where he throws for 152 and 4 interceptions.
Yeah. I actually – now that you brought it up, I just looked at his passing yard props. I think I'm going to put a bet on that. He's over 230 and a half yards at minus 115 for Sam Darnold. I think he gets about 250 at least.
Yeah, I think I'm telling you, I think he's going to come out firing, dude, to prove a point.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that this Giants defense is all that formidable. So I could definitely see it.
If you're going to, this is if you're going to catch a defense, a secondary, an off anything, this is the week that you're going to try to catch them off their heels, their heels. That's why this is so hard to even discuss. Like we're shooting darts, we're talking about some scenarios and stuff like that, but there's no real clear cut way to even have a solidifying conversation about these games. I mean, we're shooting from the hip. We're talking about what we think can happen, but a lot of this is also fandom. A lot of this is like guys that we're high on from college, and hopeful about, but you're not really going to see any of this really unfold until like week 2, week 3.
I think that's a very, very good point, which brings me to my next point, which I think we should dive into a little bit of strategy. Because if you are playing DraftKings and you're looking to win a Millie Maker type lineup, you're going to have to differentiate yourself. And in week 1, I think it's a great place to do it because everybody has these narratives that they are telling themselves of these players, of what they're going to be. And we've seen it, as I said, in fantasy drafts. If you can find the complete opposite and you get it right, you are going to have a huge leg up in these huge tournaments. So I do definitely think that is something that you want to do this week, is even if it goes against what you're thinking for the season. If you know that everybody else is thinking it, then fade it, go against it, especially as we get further into Saturday and Sunday morning, when some of these ownerships look like they're coming into form. If guys are extremely, extremely high owned, even if you love them, I mean, if you really, really think there's no way that a guy can fail, then fine, play him. But some of the other chalk that you think is maybe iffy one way or the other, this is the week to go away from it. Because as Lab just said, we know nothing right now.
Yeah. I like to say play in between the lines, right? So this is a week that, for me personally, I play in between the lines. What I mean by that is you're going to have a lot of casuals coming in now that they go after the big names. They go after the CD Lambs, the Hills, the Jeffersons, the Chases, the guys that they know, the Mike Evans, the Marvin Harrisons. But if you just play in between the lines, like even though, yeah, he's a high upside receiver, I get it, but we know that. Not of the casuals like the Nico Collins, even guys like Stefan Diggs, you know what I mean, going in there. You have no idea how they're going to utilize him. You know what I mean? So those are the kind of the guys that I take shots on in week 1. Like I will have those core plays, like, some lineups I'll be stacking with Miami. Some lineups maybe I'll be stacking with, Cincinnati. But I'm going to be playing a lot of plays in between the lines, like solid players that are kind of forgotten about a little bit, because you got the Marvin Harrison Juniors coming in, because you got this one coming in, because you got that one coming in, where there's guys that in between the lines can actually have bigger games.
Yeah, we brought up two here with Lockett and Godwin. I think that's a perfect example. Is everybody's going to be going towards the upside of the other guys on their team, and those guys are completely forgotten about. So that's a good point there too.
Even T. Higgins, like someone like T. Higgins, people aren't talking enough about him. You got someone in Chase who hasn't practiced. You know what I mean? He's questionable today to practice. How much tread is, you got Higgins who's been in camp. They might be saying, you know what, we're going to put you on the field as a decoy in week 1. We're going to be firing the ball to Higgins all day. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And a lot of people might be jumping on the Chase side because it's Chase, forgetting about Higgins.
And historically, with that stack, it's one or the other is going off too. Neither one of those guys get theirs in the same game. And
I actually just talked myself onto Higgins this week.
I'm just hoping that Chase does play so other people don't talk themselves onto Higgins.
Yeah.
If you have Chase playing, that keeps Higgins' ownership way down there, and we've seen him do it in the past. So I think that's a great call, but we got to hope for Chase to play.
Yeah. What do you guys think about Ridley?
I think it's hard to know. I do think that he's talented enough that it's worth a shot. As we just said, they're going to throw the ball a ton there, so I think he's a big play threat, and Levis is going to want to throw the ball down the field. So I don't hate it.
I like Ridley. Let me tell you a little something about Calvin Ridley. When I had my biggest win ever, I think he scored 3 touchdowns for me in that. I had him in my lineup. I stacked him. It was when he was either a rookie or a second-year player with Atlanta. And I stacked him at I think I got him at 2% owned whenever it happened. But I've always liked Ridley, but I don't like the situation in Tennessee for him.
Yeah, me neither.
And I really thought he was going to have a huge season in Jacksonville last year, and it was kind of up and down. I was actually a little disappointed with him. I thought he was going to have a bigger season than he did last year as well.
I had him in season long last year, so he had his games where he looked good, and then he had games where he just looked completely pedestrian. So I agree. I don't know I really don't know what happened to him, bro. Like he when he was in Atlanta, he was supposed to be the guy. He had, he had some good time, but he never unfolded, bro. Like he just never fully unfolded to me.
I think
the other thing is, I don't know if he has that just alpha killer instinct. He even said it. The only reason he went to Tennessee is because they paid him. That was it. So now that he got the bag, he might not even care even less.
Yeah,
like, I think he's more of one of those. He's a better number 2 receiver or like a 1A 1B. He can't.
Yep.
He's not got it in him to be that number 1 guy. He's better when he's got someone on the outside with him that's a little better than him, that's considered the top dog in that receiver room. Then he's in a better situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right, JMac, you said you wanted to build a lineup. How about we do that before we get out of here? Sound good?
Yeah, let's go. Let me pull it up here.
All right, we talked about a bunch of games since you said we're diving into one of your reserved lineups. Go ahead, you pick. Where are we starting? What stack?
I don't know. It's for the Millie Maker, so let's try to either finish last or first. I mean, there's no reason to worry about cashing if we're not getting high up in there.
All right.
Let me think. I don't know. I'll let you guys start. You guys take it off. I'll do some complimentary pieces.
You want to you want to stack it or what?
However you want to do it. If you want to go QB first and work off there, go for it.
This is Millie Maker. We got to go for broke here, no?
Yeah. Go ahead, Lap. Start it off.
Well, if we're going, dude, I'm so tempted now. I'm so tempted to go with Darnold.
Hey, it's fine. I've literally I've got 15 of these coupons for this that I've won through baseball lineups and different stuff over the last month or so.
I'll tell you what could be. Believe it or not, I know, even though it's the highest scoring game, Lawrence is going to get a lot of tread, I think, this week. What do you think? Derek?
I think
you're going to go. You want to do the Daniel Jones fucking narrative?
No, it's Millie Maker, like you just said. I think we should do Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I'm telling you, let's see if he comes out firing. Good old faithful.
All right,
you just like him because he was a fucking Jet, dude.
We got
no.
He was a Niner too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
So we got Sam Darnold at 5,200 at quarterback. We're gonna
obviously we're pairing him with Jefferson, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So what does that give us average remaining?
All right, we've got 5,200 average remaining.
So wait, do you want to go right and grab Chicago's defense right out of the gate?
We can do that.
That'll leave us with 5,500.
Yep, 5,500.
Are we going to bring something back from the Giants or no?
I don't think we necessarily have to. I would say if we're gonna, I don't know if I necessarily like the upside of Singletary for a Millie Maker. It would probably have to be Neighbors.
Yeah, but I don't think I think he's gonna. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide that. I personally probably wouldn't bring nothing back.
Neighbors is 5,900. We got Chris Godwin at 5,800 right underneath him.
So let's do that, because I don't think that this is necessarily a game, even if Darnold does pay off and Jefferson has a good game. We just need the two of them to have a good game. We don't need anybody else in that game to do anything. So I think that's fine. So let's go with just those two, and then I do like Godwin. I think that's a good call there.
So we'll put Godwin in. We're sitting at 5,440.
Now, what do you guys think about having a tentative spot? If he ends up, he's probably going. But even if he fucking plays, dude, I mean, how ready is he? Putting T. Higgins in there.
Yeah, where's Higgins? What's his price?
61.
61.
Yeah, that works.
I mean, that's up to you guys. I'm talking. These are all like narrative-based picks, dude.
No, that's what you got to do sometimes, though.
Yeah, but they're going to be lower owned. So I think that's a good start. It's completely off the board. Now, at this point, if we want to play anybody chalky, we absolutely can, because we've already completely. So what is it? It's Darnold to Jefferson.
Darnold to Jefferson, Chris Godwin, and T. Higgins with the Bears defense.
Okay. Now, average remaining salary is
$52.75.
$52.75. So we can't go crazy at running back.
Well, we can open it up if we can open that price up a little bit more. If you guys want to take a fucking shot on Bowers at tight end, he's supposed to be like what Waller was supposed to be at the Raiders, dude.
I think they are going to use him like almost more as a slot receiver. It's just week 1 against the Chargers who want to run the ball a lot. I could see that game being over before any of the other ones in the late game where, with Antonio Pierce and Harbaugh, them just running the ball and the clock disappearing. So I don't know that he necessarily gets a ton of upside there. Actually, you know what? Here's a gross milli maker, and actually, he might even be a little popular. Taysom Hill. He's $200. So? He's $200 less than Bowers. Dennis Allen loves that man, and it's basically just Kamara there. Kendre Miller's out. I think he's going to get a lot of run. I honestly think that they're going to use him at running back. So it's a milli maker type play. Maybe we're disgusting enough that you don't necessarily want to do it here, but.
I don't hate it. I don't. Whatever you guys want to do.
I don't hate it either. To be honest, I was going to say if not, I like that call actually. But if not him, the only other one I really liked was Evan Ingram.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Ingram
was going to be my choice.
Yeah, but that's not a bad idea. Taysom Hill's not a bad idea because they don't have much behind Kamara. I actually like Kamara a lot this week. But...
And Carolina's terrible, especially against the run. So if you have him lining up in the backfield, I actually think, we've seen it before where Taysom Hill can score 2 touchdowns, and you're like, fucking Taysom Hill.
Yeah, he ends up with 20 some odd points.
I would never roster this team.
It's gross. It really is.
This is great,
because I love Evan Ingram also, but for $1,200 less, now we can open it up where we have a little bit of room. What do we got left now with Taysom Hill in there to play?
So we're looking at $5,600 a spot.
There you go. So that's a little bit better there. And we need 2 running backs and a flex, correct?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could kind of value hunt for a running back and then get a higher price running back and kind of dumpster dive on a flex. What do you guys think about I think he's going to be high owned though. Ford's probably going to be high owned, right?
Dallas, I don't know.
Not necessarily.
Dallas, I don't know. To be honest with you,
I like Zamir White as a sneaky play. To be honest with you,
I as bad as I think the Chargers are going to be, I think they're going to be tough on defense.
Yeah,
I think Harbaugh is going to have them. They're going to be real tough in the trenches. So I think. I don't know, man. I kind of I wouldn't mind going up and getting Kenneth Walker III. He's going to be high owned.
That's who I was just looking at.
We have enough low-owned guys in this lineup that I don't think it would hurt us at all.
He might actually be the highest owned running back on the slate, and it doesn't matter because we are so far off the board. That's actually, and I think that's chalk that you can eat because I don't think Charbonnet is necessarily. You're not worried about him taking away from Walker, especially in week 1. They're 6-point favorites at home, so they're going to be running the ball. I think that's a really good call there.
And Denver's front 4 is horrible.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit because we said we do like Seattle kind of more so on the passing side, but that's kind of more if you're trying to get a little leverage on Walker. So I think that's a good call there is even though he's probably going to be a little chalky, we're enough off the board and take a 6-point favorite, the best running back on their team. I think that's a good call.
All right. So what is with Walker? We're sitting with a
53.50
and 53.50.
So now, what do you want to do for flex? You want to go for a running back or a wide receiver?
We could probably save some money with wide receiver.
Yeah, I was thinking about. Let me see, where is he? What do you think about JSN at 4,900?
I like it, but we already have Walker there, so I don't
Oh,
know if
that's
I
right.
love
Yeah,
the
yeah.
onslaught. I mean,
Yeah.
as 6-point favorites, they could just beat the shit out of him, and that could work. But
Let's see. Let me look over.
you said 53-50, right?
53-50, yeah. You know, let me look.
What about Brian Thomas Jr.
I was just gonna,
4,700?
I was just gonna say because I know JMac,
Get a
right?
piece of the highest total on the slate.
Yeah, we could do that. How much is he?
4,700,
Oh yeah, we could do that.
and then
That's,
that leaves
that's why
us.
I was looking to see what Tank Dell was, but he's a little higher than what I'd like to.
And what do we have left for running back?
Get
6,000.
6,000.
I mean, you want to take a fucking shot on Pollard to hope he's in that form?
I can't fucking put money on Pollard at all.
Hang on. Hear me out here. Hear me out here. So, to go with the stack of the highest scoring game, if we went up to Mostert at 64, is there anything we could drop down? How much are the Bears on defense? Can we drop down defense and make that work, or no?
Yeah, let's see. Then we'd have to be down at 3,000. We'd have the Bills. The Bills are at 3,000.
The Bills at home. The Steelers are a good defense, even though they're on the road.
Yeah, the Steelers at Atlanta. You've got the Chargers and Las Vegas right there. You've got the Titans against Chicago.
I mean, I think the Steelers might actually be all right, and they might not be too popular. They're one of the better defenses in football. If you're playing in a dome, they might pass quite a bit, so they get a lot of opportunities for turnovers and sacks with TJ Watt. I don't hate it. Or Buffalo at home. Thoughts?
I mean, I don't hate it. I got a little concern with Mostert, but I don't hate it.
I mean, we don't have to do Mostert. I was just thinking of it. Just
No,
I saw the price, and
I think if you're gonna take it be that way, but I don't know, dude. There's something tells me because I remember last year I had Mostert, and he was a fucking workhorse for me all year. But you could see like they were giving Achane every fucking possibility to take that fucking position.
Yeah,
he was getting hurt.
He couldn't stay healthy. If he would have stayed healthy, he would have took over that position.
But he couldn't stay healthy. So it's almost like, is this the year now where like week one comes and we're like, where the fuck was Mostert?
You know, could we could do a correlation and keep Chicago and play Swift. Have a correlation with the defense running back. I just don't know. I don't know how much I like Swift this first week.
Yeah, I'm not really crazy. Not necessarily in this game.
Yeah,
but I don't hate the correlation there. I guess. This is riveting listening.
You guys don't like Ford, huh?
Not really. I just
against that Dallas defense, I don't.
Yeah, I'm a little bit suspect of that game as a whole. I could see it being lower scoring, and it is one of the lower totals on the slate, so Vegas kind of agrees. I don't hate him as a play overall, but similar to Singletary, I think he's going to get a ton of work. I just don't know what the upside is. You know,
honestly, we could, if you wanted to drop down to the Browns defense with that game, that would give us 6,300. We still wouldn't. We'd be right under Mostert anyway. Be right there.
We could do Connor. We said we like Connor. We think he's going to get a good amount of work there.
Yeah, I mean that's not a bad idea because he still catches out of the backfield too.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So no matter the game script, he should be involved.
Let's do that.
All right.
Yeah, because Lab, like you said, I mean, they might come out and try and establish the run.
Yeah.
And then let's say that doesn't work and they get down, he's still going to be on the field catching passes. So I actually like that. Walker and Connor at the running backs with the off the wall plays that we have. I think that's a nice little Millie Maker lineup there.
That's a total Millie Maker lineup right there.
All right, I'm gonna submit it now. We got it in. If we hit big, I'll split it 3 ways with you guys.
We got Darnold, Connor, Walker, Godwin, Higgins, Jefferson, Hill, Thomas Jr., and the Browns. Bro, there ain't nobody tying that lineup.
I don't even think anybody listening to this is going to be like, you know what, I'll throw it in there.
They're going to be like, you idiots.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. But yeah, I think that was a pretty good look into week 1. Obviously, it'll get a little bit more in depth as we go through, but a little bit of stuff that stood out there to us. But obviously, check out the madlabmma.com. We're going to have everything covered there. But JMac, thanks for joining.
Hey, anytime. It's always a pleasure.
All right, man.
All right. So
I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen.
We got to do a review. We got to do a review next week.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We'll do a review as we split our $1 million.
Yeah.
If we get $1 million, we ain't doing no fucking review. I'm gone. I'll see you later.
All right, gentlemen.
All right, bye.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. Obviously, it's week 1. Football's here. Cannot wait. Check out themadlabmma.com. As I said, head over to X, head over to @thehelm sports. I have everything up there as soon as I post it. And check out the giveaway. $50 to somebody is going right into your account, Venmo or PayPal next week. So check that out. All the rules are there. But that's going to do it for this week. As always, thank you for listening. And remember,
just have fun out there.